To the Turn On Your Inner Light show. It's time to stop just surviving, and it's time to begin to thrive. It's time to live happier and healthier. Turn stress into strength. Noted author Debbie Mandel will show you how to move beyond personal doubts and fears and into positive perception to turn on your inner light. Here's your host, Debbie Mandel.
Greetings, everyone, and welcome to my show. Our guest expert is Kumar, MD, a Stanford-trained internist, founder and medical director of the Ommani Center for Integrative Medicine, and author of Becoming Real. Learn to move through the midlife process with empowerment. Welcome, Rose.
Thank you.
Now, why is the menopausal transition difficult?
Well, it's a big transition that occurs at so many levels in a woman's being that women really, I think in our society, we're not prepared for this because there's no framework that exists to help us go through this process with consciousness.
What does that really mean, there's no framework? I mean, I speak to women. I finished menopause a number of years ago, but I always ask women how they felt, and women talk about it. So what does that mean, there's no framework? I mean, maybe we don't live in tribes anymore or in villages where there might be a rite of passage, but I don't get it.
Okay. A framework really is a cultural perspective that is empowering and naming of a process that's anticipated at a certain stage of a woman's life. And the way that we view menopause is through the medical framework of deficiency or pathology. So women will look at menopause, in their 40s, looking ahead with dread, or with a feeling of feeling discarded by society, feeling like they're getting old, or...
Well, aren't they?
And they are.
And aren't we discarded by society?
But with disdain. And that's my whole point, Debbie, because we are discarded, and the framework that society really puts upon us and puts upon midlife women is a discarded framework. And it's really not working for us. And that framework makes us go through this transition with much more difficulty than we should. So I'm trying to reframe the framework to make it more empowering for women and to really bring it out of a pathological model into more of a transformational model, so women can view this time with consciousness and excitement. And if they can learn about the different levels of change that are coming, they will be more prepared for it, and they won't be so frightened by it.
I think that's a wonderful point, because I'm in stress management, and for me, stress management means being prepared instead of overwhelmed, and that way you can set up. Now, you wrote about the feminine healing model. Could you explain that?
Well, our medical system is very much based on the masculine principle, and the masculine principle really is a set of characteristics or qualities that include product orientation, fixing things, light, we're obsessed with the light, we're always on the move, we're always doing. And what the feminine principle is characteristic of is more healing rather than fixing. It's more non-rational or circuitous thinking rather than rational thinking. Anything that's non-rational in our society is just basically thrown out. Doing gets a lot more accolades than being. We really have our focus on moving as fast as we can on a trajectory. We don't really value process. We value a lot more product. And that imbalance is making us sick. It's making our society extremely stressed out. And I'm sure in your work, when you work with people with stress management, you're teaching them a lot of characteristics of the feminine principle.
But also masculine. I have a lot of yang in me.
Yeah, well, I do too.
And I'm very direct, and I kind of, in my own marriage, my husband will accuse me of saying, don't try to fix it. I'm just venting. And I'm saying, okay.
But you know, that's what I mean, is that we're conditioned to do this, and there's nothing wrong with it. But because it's so imbalanced, we become imbalanced. And that's not good for our cell tissue. It's not good for our health. It's not good for the health of the earth. Because, you know, when does it stop? You know, where's that balance point where we can say, okay, I need to take a break. I need to exhale. I need to really be in the process and try not to control the outcome. And that's more of the spiritual perspective, the more inner perspective, the heartful perspective. So I don't want to come across as saying that the masculine is bad. It's just imbalanced. Because if you're just being and not doing, you're really not going to get anything done. So, you know, so it's really about balancing the two principles that's really critical for wholeness and health.
Yes, and I think the key word that you're saying is being whole or holistic, looking at the spirit, at the intellect, at the emotional and the physical, and putting it all together, as opposed to let's just be rational and physical, because we kind of spiral around. Now, if I'm a woman and I'm at menopause, how would I know I'm having a crisis? What if I'm just so busy and doing things, but I'm not feeling right? Are there any symptoms, Dr. Rose, that you would see in a woman right off the bat, or we can anticipate?
Well, there are some very common symptoms that women present with as they're going through menopause, and some of these symptoms are a result of hormonal changes that occur during this time, during the peri and postmenopausal time frame, in late 30s to 50s. And the most common ones are just fatigue and loss of vitality. A woman's libido starts to go down for a lot of women. She may experience hot flashes. She may experience some symptoms of depression or dysthymia, or just feel heavy or feel stuck. She may start feeling really sad. She may develop hypertension. A lot of women will develop reflux.
That's interesting.
Yeah, the acidity in the stomach. And then a lot of women will start gaining weight, particularly around the belly. Mm-hmm. And I see a lot of women that will come in and say, this body is not my body. I mean, I'm eating the same way I always did, and now it's not working for me.
Well, we're going to hold that thought for a second because we go to commercial break, and we will return with Dr. Rose Kumar, author of Becoming Real.
Now you can take Debbie Mandel home with you. Her book, Turn On Your Inner Light, Fitness for Body, Mind, and Soul, will help you decompress with healthy, positive, concrete solutions. Common life challenges are presented so that you can quickly find the help you need. Emotional tips, original meditations, and a fun and easy-to-follow fitness workout for each mindset. This revolutionary new method will help you rewire mind and body to take back your power. Get it on Amazon.
Are you overwhelmed with the burden of taking care of children, parents, or both? Are you taking care of everyone else except yourself? It's time to change your habits and re-energize. Debbie Mandel gives you an innovative and easy-to-follow program for good health and happiness. In her magical new book, Changing Habits, The Caregiver's Total Workout, Debbie Mandel shows you step-by-step how to find the optimal balance between giving and receiving, and guides you to exercise and eat right to take care of yourself. What are you waiting for? Read Changing Habits and start training for your life. Life does not need to be a burden. Get Changing Habits, The Caregiver's Total Workout on Amazon.
You're listening to the Turn On Your Inner Light show. I'm your host, Debbie Mandel, and I'm speaking with Dr. Rose Kumar. She's the author of Becoming Real. Now, before commercial break, we were talking about the symptoms that usually occur at this time period of a woman's transformation, from, being, I guess, a childbearer to non-childbearing. And this loss of creativity seems to hurl some women into a frenzy about finding their identity. Would you agree?
Oh, yes. It's a great way to put it, Debbie.
Well, I think that when you observe women and you have to get at the root cause, right? I mean, yes. What is the problem here? Now, I was fascinated when you wrote about, in Becoming Real, the 4-body system. Could you explain that?
Well, in my medical training, I was really trained in the physical body. That's one body system. And the mental body was viewed as an extension of the physical body. And so, patients were really not getting the causes of their symptoms or their illnesses addressed. They were getting a lot of symptom management, but not real healing. And so it really always felt incomplete to me. And so as I got into my medical practice and started seeing patients, it became really clear to me that there are other levels. And so I call this a 4-body system: the energetic level, the emotional level, the mental body, and the physical body. And I found that a lot of the causes of illness occur at the energetic and emotional body level. And so I have talked about that in Becoming Real and described examples of how one can really determine what level a modality or a discipline needs to, or a healing modality needs to be introduced in order to heal that particular level. So that is the 4-body system approach to healthcare and to medicine, which is a much more complete system, and it really brings a lot of awareness to people as to what they can do to rebalance and realign themselves.
Let me probe this a little further. So we understand what physical symptoms are and the mental symptoms because we rationalize everything we do, whether it's true or not.
Yes.
How would you get at my, let's say, energy level, at that modality?
Well, at the energetic level, the way I've divided this up is logically with the masculine principle.
Aha!
It does work. It does help. It's needed. Mm-hmm. And I see the energy body having 4 components: the electrical system, the subtle body, the constitutional system, and the meridian system. Mm-hmm. And there are different modalities and disciplines that address all these systems. The electrical system we can look at and address with flower essences, the constitutional with homeopathy, the subtle body with Reiki, and then the meridian system with Chinese medicine. And depending upon what level the issue is coming from, that particular modality can help. So when a patient comes in, for example, after having had a car accident, which is one of the examples that's in Becoming Real, and they develop anxiety after the car accident, and that does not go away even though they're in physical therapy, even though their pain is gone, a lot of times the trauma of that accident is in their electrical system that is causing this anxiety. And so what ends up happening is when a flower essence for trauma is given to them, over time, for a period of several weeks, the anxiety will dissipate. And so I kind of see this as, if you look at water, and the ice is the most densest body, it's the physical body, the water is the emotional body, the steam is the energy body, it makes it a little clearer to understand that we are one with different densities.
Now maybe I'm going to play devil's advocate, which is very easy for me to do, given that I'm primarily yang, housed in this little petite body. Don't be fooled. What if, it's the placebo effect? Hey, I'm anxious. We know that trauma gets stored in the hippocampus. That's where memories are forged. We remember the bad things in childhood. I like to ask people what was good in your childhood.
Right.
But, okay, so my hippocampus has this traumatic memory, and it's not so far past. And I'm doing the Bach flower essences, but it could be placebo effect. I mean, okay, I'm sniffing it, I'm thinking I'll get over this, and eventually through auto-hypnosis I will, or I'll just suppress it on even playing on your field in the cellular level until I come close to breaking the next time.
Mm-hmm. Well, the flower essences are not smelled. They're taken orally.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not going to erase the hippocampal memory. But what they're going to do is ground you to reduce the intensity of the anxiety so you can actually work through the trauma. So when people get really anxious and they move into the limbic system and they cut off their gray matter because they're in survival, they're in fight or flight, the flower essences don't get rid of that. But what they do is they, if you will, settle the static in their system that loops through their hippocampus and makes this auto loop of survival that they can't get out of. So it's hard for them to function. For example, women that have, or men that have had car accidents, when they pass by the scene of the accident or the site, they will have intense anxiety or post-traumatic stress type of symptoms. The flower essences will not make those symptoms go away, but they will help them maybe slow down the hippocampal process so that they can actually function and drive past without, passing out or having a panic attack. So the gentle remedies don't necessarily make the physical body completely heal, but what they do is help you ground yourself so that you can work through some of the issues that you can work through.
I could be open to that, maybe. But we go to commercial break, and we will return with Dr. Rose Kumar, author of Becoming Real. Dear listeners, I'm excited to tell you about my new book, Addicted to Stress. This is a message you need to hear. Are you addicted to stress? Do you do it all while everyone depends on you? Where's all this pressure coming from? It is coming from inside you. This is why my publisher, John Wiley, asked me to write Addicted to Stress, a woman's 7-step program to reclaim joy and spontaneity in life. This fun-to-read book teaches proven strategies to reclaim your life, silence your inner critic, build a healthy body, and reframe your thoughts to change your life for the better. Dare to be happy without the guilt. Addicted to Stress is easy to get. It's available at Barnes & Noble and other fine bookstores everywhere. You can also buy it at Amazon and other online retailers. We're back with Dr. Rose Kumar, author of Becoming Real. Now, one thing that you wrote about was very interesting, and since we are very much a food-driven society, what's the effect of food on menopause? You wrote about the yin-yang diet. Mm-hmm. I like that.
The food that we eat in our society is a lot of processed food, a lot of food that contains hormones and antibiotics, pesticides. We're not eating clean food in general in our society unless we're conscious consumers. And what happens is that as menopause comes near, the processed foods and the foods that are more yang or have more heat in them tend to express themselves more through our symptoms. So reflux, for example, hot flashes, night sweats, headaches, they can all get worse if your diet is primarily yang. And in Becoming Real, there's a list of yang foods.
Yeah, what are some of the foods?
Some of the yang foods, a big one is alcohol. Mm-hmm. Another one is coffee.
Oh, I see, I told you I was yang.
Well, you know.
Not on the alcohol, the coffee.
Yeah.
Let's not make me into a lush. Go ahead.
In moderation, though, because, again, it's about balance. And people don't eat yin foods as much, which are root vegetables, foods that grow in the earth. So a lot of our diet is based on processed foods, most of which are yang, and a lot less plant-based foods that are grown in the earth that are yin. And when we're going through this perimenopausal, menopausal process, our body becomes very sensitive to the yin-yang imbalance, and a yang symptom would be hot flashes, night sweats, reflux, headaches. The yin food diet during this time, with emphasis, will end up helping a lot of those symptoms. But it takes time because food is not a quick fix. It just takes time and consistency to get the energy of food incorporated into our body. And I'll tell women, you know, you love your coffee, drink a cup of coffee. You love your alcohol, lay off of it while you're symptomatic, and then reintroduce it gently, slowly, and take your cues from your body. If your body starts flashing or sweating while you're drinking, you know, cut back on it, and then let your body direct what it wants, what it needs.
Are there other yang foods that you feel women should not eat?
Mostly processed foods and alcohol. Those are the primary yang foods, and those are the white foods, the white flour, white sugar, white rice. Mm-hmm. Sugar can be yin also, but too much sugar, taking in too much sugar, throws it into a yang character. And so it becomes more inflammatory. So a good way to look at this is the inflammatory foods tend to be more yang, mm-hmm. and the anti-inflammatory foods tend to be more yin.
Like women and men. Men tend to be inflammatory.
I'm not touching that, Deb.
I know you're not, but I did. But you know what? If we follow a Mediterranean diet,
yes.
I mean, this is good for everything. If I don't want to get type 2 diabetes at this stage in my life, I'm going to eat complex carbs. I'm going to promote more vegetables and fruits. I mean, who needs all the heavy fatty? I mean, if I want cardiac health, and you know, women are so underdiagnosed when it comes to heart attacks or their treatment or stroke. I mean, this is the kind of diet we should all be on.
We should all be on, and especially in midlife, because one of the things that happens to our bodies in midlife is that they become so sensitive with the hormonal changes that when we drink or when we eat foods that are more yang or sweeter, more carbohydrate rich, what ends up happening is our insulin receptors will convert them into fat a lot more quickly. Mm-hmm. And there is a influence that the hormonal changes have on the insulin.
Well, that's a great way for our interview to close. Do you have a website where we can learn more about your work and your book?
Yes, the website is www.OmmaniCenter.com, OMMANI Center.com, and I'm also on Facebook and Twitter.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rose. We learned
Debbie.
a lot. It was a very good dialogue. And now for the affirmation of the week. You become what you pretend to be. And the latest medical trends. The American public can expect to add earlier and more severe flu seasons to the fallout from climate change, according to new research studies. And from Oregon State University, the health benefits of small amounts of activity, even as small as 1 and 2 minute increments that will add up to about 30 minutes a day, can be just as beneficial as longer bouts of physical exercise achieved by a trip to the gym. I think we're diluting exercise. Soon I'll have something on the microseconds of exercise. And regular consumption of deep-fried foods such as French fries, fried chicken, and donuts is associated with an increased risk of prostate cancer and a more noxious kind of prostate cancer. Cardiac disease is associated with an increased risk of mild cognitive impairment, particularly problems with language, thinking, and judgment among women with heart disease. This was the study from the Mayo Clinic. Patients with early-stage breast cancer who were treated with lumpectomy plus radiation may have a better chance of survival compared with those who underwent mastectomy. This is from Duke Medicine Research. And I'm happy to tell you this one. This was surprising, but not really when you think about it. Married men and women who divide household chores in traditional ways report having more sex than couples who share so-called men's and women's work. This is a new study from sociologists at the University of Washington. So let your man be a man and don't put an apron around him, or, it might impact in the bedroom. And if people have snoring episodes, even without apnea, it could cause thickening and abnormalities of the carotid artery, a potential precursor to atherosclerosis. And now we come to the close of another show. I have an educational website, totally free, turnonyourinnerlight.com. All the guest experts are archived for your listening pleasure. Click on the link on my site, turnonyourinnerlight.com, and it will take you to YouTube, and you can listen at your leisure. Subscribe to my free newsletter from turnonyourinnerlight.com, and you will get a heads up on the latest interview, a fresh new article on stress management, and all the health tips fully delineated. I really don't get a chance to mention even half of them, and you'll be surprised to learn them. Well, have a wonderful week and see you on the radio.